Okay, it's on now.
All right.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Let him go first. Because he
Okay,
can't
Uncle John,
remember
where were
much.
you born?
Well, it was up in the hospital.
Where was the
No.
hospital?
It'll be so much. You're going to be a joke.
Where
Anyway,
was I born at? I was born in New Orleans,
Which part?
Louisiana.
and
I think I was born in Truro in a hospital,
yeah.
but I'm not sure.
What did your parents do for work?
My father worked as at first he worked in Jordan Manville, and he was making ceiling tiles, floor tiles, roof shingles. And my mother, she was a housekeeper. Housewife.
Mm.
Until she went and did Avon.
And then later
And then worked for Sears Catalog.
Later she went to work for Sears, and she finally became a manager of the catalog department.
Mm.
And then what?
Well, you need to tell him where she came from.
Oh, she came from Belgium,
Oh.
Antwerp,
Oh.
Belgium.
I didn't know that.
She was a war bride.
Which war?
She spoke
World War II.
World War II. Yeah, not one.
That's where she met his father, because he was in the
And,
military at the time.
My mother, she had a pretty good education.
Oh,
She
yeah.
spoke English, French, I think German. Huh? Did you speak?
Yeah, she spoke German, and she also
She spoke-
spoke Flemish.
Flemish, which was a native language. And
And over there, they made them go to school. They went to school 6 days a week. And
Jeez.
you had to take so many. When you got to a certain grade, you had to take another language. Then as you went on, another language. They kept pushing for you to take, all the
because you
different
had so many
languages.
countries
around.
and that, so it was good for you to know the language of the other countries that was around your country. Anyway, she came on aboard a ship to United States, and
And they put them on a train.
she stayed with my grandmother,
Yeah.
my daddy's mother and father. She was pregnant with my sister at the time.
Which they didn't know because she was so thin. They just didn't know until
So she was.
she finally
She was.
told Albert. Well, Albert knew her husband,
I don't know where she was.
and
Where
they were living downstairs.
where were they? Where was my daddy at when he met my mother?
He was with the group of the MPs and everything
No.
after they lived.
Where was my mother? Where was my mama?
It was in Antwerp.
Antwerp.
And,
So my sister was made in Antwerp.
yeah, and but yeah, she's an import.
Yeah, she's an imported
That
baby.
might be why she's different.
She's an imported baby. So anyway,
But she did, and she saw a lot of disturbing things. And she told us some stories about her life there. Her mother was killed earlier on in her youth, and the father was a merchant seaman, his grandfather, and so
wait. My daddy was a MP,
yeah,
military police in the war.
yeah, and but she went at an early age. She went to live with her mother's mother, and until her mother's mother fell and broke her hip. Well, then she had to go live with her husband's mother. And all along, though, they had a separate apartment for her in another building. And the grandmother, her father's mother, went ahead and she hid a family of Jewish people in the attic So when it came to rations, the Jewish man made a coat for her to wear.
Mm-hmm.
And what she'd do is she had her address so she could go get rations for that. She could go get rations for her father's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Then she went and got the rations that they would give for her grandmother.
Mm.
And that way she had extra food to feed the ones in the attic as well as the people that were boarding in her house.
Mm-hmm.
And the men would always say, sit down, give them her seat on the little, they had electric trolleys. And she'd say, oh, no, because she couldn't. She had loaves of bread in the coats and everything, and she had a round face, so I guess people thought, oh yeah, she's pregnant, because she had all this food stuffed in this coat. And but she went ahead, and that was when she was still a teenager. She had an apartment at 14.
Oh, wow.
And and at that time,
my sister was born in
46.
Huh?
46. She's the same year as that.
What month? November.
November, yeah.
And
But she went ahead, and when they did come, when they were liberated, that's how she met Albert. And they went ahead, and next thing you know, they hit it off. They got married, and they went to get married at the what was it? It was one of the church. I can't remember the name of the church.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have their marriage license, but it's in the attic. But it's just it was something that he hear her, because when later in life she had a stroke, and that's all she could remember. And the other part is that she wasn't speaking a lot of English. She had a heavy accent anyway, but because she would pronounce milk as milk, and that when she was there, she sewed to make ladies' stockings, and so silk turned into silic, and so she had her own little language part.
Yeah.
But it was interesting, and since she had told me a lot of the stories when she did have that, why we say my sister-in-law is different is because she said they brought her and put her in this, like in the center of a horseshoe with all the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is they were going to keep her for a month in rehab. But the room she was in, the lady wouldn't let. She had the wall side of the A and B type of setup, and the lady that was in by the window, she had the light, she had everything, and she wouldn't let Henrietta see the TV. So she pulled that curtain all the way up. So she was in this little cubicle now, and so when they said she had to stay a month, she just broke down. Well, Nita told her, she says, "Oh, Mama, I'm so happy to see you cry. You never cry." And she said, and she looked at Nita, and so she said, and then Nita abruptly said, "Oh, I got to get back to work." So she left. And so they said, but what language is she speaking? I said, I think it's Flemish. I don't know Flemish. I said, but I think that's what it is. And I said, but I said, I can tell you one thing that's going on. It's where she's in this room. She's claustrophobic. And the psychiatrist was one of the ones that was there and said, well, what are you talking about? And I said, well, she's, as you can see, she can't see the TV. She can't see windows. All she knows is there's lights on in the hallway. And I said, she's from that era where she used to tell us that when they came to take over Antwerp, well, they had their bombers, and they would make this sound, and then it boom, you know. And what they did was, all of them that were living there, when they'd hear that sound, that's it. They would just plaster themselves against the wall, you know, because it was just going to be, you know, they knew that something was going to blow up. And one day, good thing she was on her lunch break, because when she got back to the building where they worked, well, where her machine was you know, was gone. So it's just, you know, it was interesting hearing her stories. When her grandmother got a little better, the one that was her mother's mother, she used to run from school, run to her grandmother, the mother's mother, and just to give her a hug and that, because she liked her better. The other one was very strict, very kind of German-like, I guess. But she was more, she just was more rough, you know, and everything, and didn't show a lot of attention. So, and then you had to grow up back then because of the circumstances. So, but she did good, and her goal was she wanted to be able to drive. And I said, well, after coming back from school, if you take those, he told her, he said, take the classes.
I'm not going to let you drive unless you go through a driver's training course. That way we'll know that you're capable of driving. And if they say okay, we'll get your car.
So you working today?
You drive.
I work today.
So
You already have.
yeah, so it, you know, and she did. She passed and everything, and so she got a new car, and that was, you know, that was basically it.
How many siblings did you have? How many kids did she have?
She had
3.
You, Stevie,
2
and your
boys
sister?
and 1 girl.
And Stevie's younger, right?
Yeah.
So
Stevie's 7 years younger than me.
and
And my sister is
2 years older.
2
years.
years.
2 years older.
Nice.
Yeah, 2 years younger.
What,
2 years older than her.
Yeah.
what was the most trouble you got in growing up?
I can't. I plead the fifth.
He got into some mischief,
Yeah,
but of course they all did, because it was a group effort.
well, typical mischief that we got into. Yeah, I don't know.
Y'all captured a bulldozer.
Oh, we played in the woods a lot, and we built a tree house.
And then they decided they'd build a pit so that animals came or whatever, you know, and they put.
We built different traps around to catch some wild animals, you know. And we made this big one, and we covered it all up. We didn't put nothing in the bottom, because we didn't want to hurt anybody. If they fell in there and broke a leg or something, well, we'd take them out and go to the hospital. But we did, huh?
And you built that little zip line y'all built.
Oh, we had
Of course, nobody knew how to stop.
in the
They
treehouse.
just go into the tree.
you had to climb the rope ladder to get up there, but to get down, you had to grab onto this. Well, actually, it was a rope, a big heavy rope,
Yeah, sure.
and you grabbed it and you swung down.
There you go.
And we cut the trees that they had, not big trees, but small trees, as close to the ground as we
Well,
could.
they're lucky that the ocean looks.
Well, but they had this one tall guy, and he didn't pick up. He went down. He didn't pick up his feet high enough. He broke his leg. But anyway, so that was a lesson that we learned. Well, we know to remember to pick up our legs, not to drag them.
And then the time that y'all we tied people's garbage cans,
Oh,
and there was a public bus that used to go down the street.
sometimes we'll go around on garbage night, and it was a bus route that came down through there, and we tied the garbage cans from one side of the street to the other side of the street with a small line. And when the bus would come by, it would grab the can, and we'd grab the rope and take the cans and pow!
And so the bus went along
And
the
then
route just
garbage
collecting
all over.
garbage cans, you know.
But anyway, we did that, and we egged houses, different ones.
Keep going well.
When you were younger, what did you want to be?
Might go to Atlantic.
President. No. No, I don't know. From a very young age, I was good with my hands. I made things and rebuilt things and worked on different things. So I guess, basically, I wanted to be a mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
and I was.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but the what I want to say, I was a bad boy in school. I didn't. I was one of the ones that I didn't skip school, but
You went there to make trouble.
huh?
You went there to make trouble.
Yeah, I was a troublemaker, but and naturally I didn't finish high school.
Mm-hmm.
I wound up getting out and going to work. So I went to work, made a little bit of money, and when I made 16, I got my driver's license, and I got me a car.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. Well, as the years went by, I went to trade school. I did that. I got my GED when Pam's mama, she went and got hers. And I said, well, hell, if a blind woman can get one. I said, a stupid person can. No. Anyway, so I said, well, yeah. So Pam tutored me, I guess you want to call it.
I had all the tapes for Mom and stuff.
Yeah, and we kind of copied off of that. Not the paperwork, but
Okay.
the learning part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You could tape at that point. You could tape the classes
Mm-hmm.
from your television. So
Mm-hmm.
Papa got a VCR and we taped it. And matter of fact, the tapes are still in the cabinet over there.
Anyway,
And-
so we made up some flashcards, you know, for the
Math.
math part, and did that, and I studied a little bit, not a whole lot, but I studied.
You did.
And you'd be surprised what you learn through the years, you know,
On the job.
doing things out in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And I went and I took the test. I made 100, I think it was on it, and with 96 or 98, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did that. I passed it. I went through the whole 9 yards. I got the cap and gown, and got the ring, and all that stuff. And
When did you join the Navy?
the Navy, I was when Vietnam and everything was going on, when they started drafting people, I got drafted, but I didn't want to go in the army.
Mm.
So I went and talked to the recruiting officer, and he said, "Well, they got CBs. If you want, it's a naval construction battalion." And he said they got your trade in it, you know, mechanics and stuff. And he said maybe you might be interested in getting that. So I looked into it and everything. I said, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that." So I took the test for that, and I evidently passed it because they took me, and I went into the Navy Seabees.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Vietnam from there. That was my gift for joining the Seabees, because
That's the prize you got.
yes, the prize I got. And while over there, they sprayed. They didn't spray it, but
It leaked up.
they accidentally leaked out of the plane or the helicopter or whatever, and they kind of sprayed the camp with Agent Orange, and that's what this is, Agent Orange, and it breaks out in different parts of your body. It's like an eczema,
An
and
extreme case.
huh?
An extreme case.
The extreme case of it, and it gets sore, and it starts itching, and everything. I got a cream I put on it, so it broke out. When did it break out?
Oh gosh, this one's been going on for at least a year now.
It lasted about a year, and this is the second time it broke out.
Yeah.
First time it broke out, it lasted about a year.
Well, yeah. No,
And then-
I think it went over the year, like
Oh,
a year and a
okay.
half.
I'll say 2 years.
And then
And
this
then
one,
next thing you know, it just went away.
yeah.
Cleared up, went away. And this is gradually clearing up. It looks angry right now, but it needs to be cleaned. I need to go back in the bathroom and wash it. I got stuff I put it on there, and it washes it. It clears it up a little bit. Then I put that salve on it, and that keeps it from burning. It keeps it kind
So
of
what they have
moist, I guess.
names.
How long were you in Vietnam?
About a year.
Do you know what part?
Da Nang.
I can't hold it.
We didn't go. We were stationed in Da Nang, and we was working on vehicles and stuff. So I didn't go out in the jungle or nothing like that. But we did have to keep our rifle and everything around, close by. And so that was good because I didn't do that. And that was another reason why I said, well, Army, you're gonna be out in the jungle and everything, and you're liable to get dead,
Yeah, you would have been.
Huh?
I said you probably would have been.
Probably. I don't know. You don't know. You don't know in a situation like that.
Quite on top of
But why take a chance,
80 feet from the actual
So I went.
top of
Of course, it could have happened where I was
Yeah, could too.
in Da Nang. I mean, we constantly got harassed by the Viet Cong when they shot rockets and stuff over the camp was built in almost into a mountain. So in order for them to shoot a mortar round or something like that over the mountain and drop into the camp, they almost have to put the tube, the mortar straight up. And what happens then? It shoots out, and it kind of comes back on top of them. So they have to have enough angle the way, and then when they do that, it overshoots the mountain. It just goes over it and lands several hundred yards out in the open field, which we had all cleared out and everything. Had wire and everything in there, and they had little booby traps and stuff in there. A little small personnel mines and stuff like that. And we had a post guard. We didn't because I was working at night. If you worked during the day, then you had the post guard duty in a certain area, wherever they put you at. And but since I was working at night, and we slept during the day, and it still had guards, but it wasn't. It was all skipped around from different companies and different other military
Personnel.
like they had Air Force, they had Navy, they had Army, they had Marines, they had all that mixed in around, not basically on our base, but in other bases around. So they all kind of took turns doing it.
Only two states
But,
mirror in, which is the formula.
we wasn't in a hostile place, but
Can't think of
we
any
still had to,
areas that would open up.
Mhm.
you know, be
Mississippi down
have
there are almost
precautions.
identical, you know,
Mm-hmm.
And
um,
one good thing about working at night, during the day, if I wanted to go into
that's an
town
interesting one. It's not a mirror
to
image,
to make phone calls,
but it is
they had a big
a reverse
building that
image, a reverse
they had
image.
phones all around. You go in there, put your name in,
I think, you
and
know,
then
when Mississippi
they'll
has
call you
that
when they got a phone ready, you know, because you can only make 10-minute calls.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they will allow you to do. And then when your time was up, you get out, go home, whatever. I mean, not go home, but go back to wherever you came from, and then the next person gets in there, and everything goes over again.
Did you always call Nanny Pam?
No, I called my
Called me
grandmother
once.
one time, and huh?
You called once
What? Who?
here.
Yeah, I called once here,
Okay.
and it was around 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize didn't know exactly what time it was. I knew it was sometime in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, well, if they picked the phone up, they picked the phone up.
Daddy picked it up.
And,
But,
yeah, I talked to her for for
Yeah.
10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
what,
and
one of the reasons I kept telling him I'd write to him, you need to call, even if you just say I'm alive, and that's it, because a lot of his letters were coming back to me saying
the mail
missing.
would get screwed up,
Mm.
and
And if
you know you
want,
wouldn't receive it,
you know,
mail, and,
where
and
you
when,
were
when you would
before.
mail something, and not all the time it would get
Mm-hmm.
mailed.
Mm.
So
When did y'all meet?
right before the
We
Christmas
met
before.
at a
Well, no, New Year's,
What?
New Year's Eve, we met at which
Okay,
his
New
brother.
Year's Eve.
I can't think of his name now.
We met
Johnny.
at my aunt's house,
Mhm.
my aunt Marion's house,
Hmm.
for a
Fish fry.
was it Christmas Eve?
Well, that she
New
had a
Year-
fish
yeah,
fry
somewhere.
before, and then New
Well, I don't
Year's
know
was
if it
when
was
you
New
asked me to
Year's or
dance.
Christmas Eve or something like that. Anyway, for one of those holidays,
Mm-hmm.
and that was back about, let's see, that was before I went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
So
It
that was about maybe 60.
I would say it
eight.
was about, yeah. It was
68,
about
69.
68. Yeah, it could have been 68. And
So
that's it, yeah, because
we-
that's the year I had the Mustang.
You know, we met at the fish fry and everything, and
And I thought he was
I
too
didn't
old.
do anything at first.
Oh.
And
What?
because he was always with the older people, you know.
But I
And,
did notice her.
And I didn't
Uh,
know, you know, he was interested
and,
until I got asked to go to the New Year's party at one of the relatives.
Mhm.
Got married. Because he loved to pop fireworks. And
Not
make
me.
That doesn't
and make
surprise me
and
at
make
all.
and make little pipe bombs and that would clear out the drain in the street. And then from there he took a muffler and he put the gunpowder in there and it would make this whomp sound, you know, as it was going off. So I think, and we had,
That's not what we was talking about.
yeah, but I'm getting to the other thing is the people across the street from us
No,
were,
explain to him about when we met.
oh, well, we met your Aunt Marion's, but
Yeah.
I didn't know you were interested, and I thought you were old.
You thought I was old, huh?
You are, to me, you were old.
How old were y'all?
Well, I was still in high
was
school, so I was about
let's see, she was-
17, and
She was
and
about
him,
17,
he was,
16, 17.
there's 3 years difference.
And I was,
That's all. But it's just that
Let's see, how old I was about,
when I first met him, he had, yes.
I had to be about 18 or something.
you had that little hat you used to
Huh?
wear.
About 18.
Huh?
How old was I? About 18?
I was 17. You would have been 20.
I was 20.
Yeah. And so the thing is he'd wear this little hat. And his hair was all slicked down with the Brill cream and whatever
Not
it
Brill
was.
cream.
What was
I
it?
used who was it? Vital.
I don't know what it was.
Oh,
All I know is that
oh.
had to go. The sticky hair had to go.
You didn't like the greaser look?
No, didn't like the greaser look. And told him, I said, that's one thing gotta go. But he did. He stopped using it. Well, then you could actually see his blonde hair. Otherwise, it made it look, a darker color. But
Now my brother's got more gray hair than me.
yeah, now. And but it was just
But my hair turned darker.
yeah,
It's not as blonde as it used. Of course,
yeah.
when I
Well, our wedding,
wash my
our
hair,
wedding pictures,
it
it was
it
real
becomes a
blonde.
little lighter.
His mother said when he was a baby, it used to be white.
Yeah,
It was so light, it was white.
and
But
Just like
And-
Paul's hair was blonde when he was a baby,
yeah,
right? And then it turned
yeah.
darker.
yeah, and his was, and then he sort of like Adrian. They had that. Of course, in them days it wasn't, But Adrian used to say his was he'd flip his hair, so it would all go to one side.
I used to.
His hair was a lot longer than what it is now.
I went fishing.
I mean, he used to just have a regular haircut, but it was a regular man's haircut, but it was longer than his. Now he just says, take it off,
Mm-hmm.
And but it just and I
I got pictures of a lot of stuff. But,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I got some on the computer somewhere.
yeah.
I don't know if it was on my old hard drive or what. But
I don't know. You got quite a few pictures, but
Right.
it's just that's how it ended up being. And to be honest with you, when we danced, I got little butterflies in my stomach, and so that was that. That told me what that was. But then he was going off to go to Vietnam. So
did you feel anything when we danced close?
no, not that. Just felt butterflies.
Did y'all kiss at midnight?
Yes, we
We
did.
kissed all.
Oh.
We sure
kissed
did.
all
We
the time.
did kiss at midnight, and that brought on the more butterflies. And then one of my girlfriends had come with us, and well, two of them had come, and with his uncle and his Aunt Marion brought us and their daughter. So we were four of us that used to stick together, and so she said, "Now that's just not right. That's just not right. I wanted that one,
Oh.
And I said, well, Debbie, you didn't tell me nothing before, And she goes, and she says, he asked you for a date, didn't he? I said, well, he said next time he came back into Gretna because he was stationed in Gulfport. And so she says, well, I'll be.
Who was already dating?
No, where was it? That when we left Aunt Mary? When you left Johnny and Betty's house, or Johnny and I forgot his wife name Betty.
Johnny Lasagne.
Yeah, but I forgot. I thought his wife's name was Betty. But anyway,
Yeah,
when they
Betty.
left, there on the way, and actually Darlene, me, and we were all four sitting in the back seat, and kind of crunched up. Anyway, but we went ahead, and she tells me, I can't believe it. I had my eye on him before you did. I said, Mom, I thought he was old, and she says, he ain't that old. I said, no, but he stayed with Grandpa and all of the men and uncles and that and talking, and so I just figured he's one of the old guys.
Oh, you thought he was old?
I thought he was, yeah.
What happened to the picture?
Oh, I'll show you. Well, I'll have to get away from the camera from here.
That's fine.
Because it's right over here on Stevie's printer. And you get to see
I might have it on my phone.
You get to see the hat that he used to wear. This is when they went fishing. And that's the hat he wore. And so to me, he looked more the old group.
He's this one in the bottom?
Yeah. And so,
Indiana Jones.
yes, I guess, I don't know, it was just a you know, but he always had that hat and the, whatever it was, hair.
That's a big fish.
Oh, yeah.
Where'd you catch that, Uncle John?
That's a garfish.
Oh,
Where would you catch
They
it?
were in front of the
That was
camp,
caught around the camp.
where your mama
Jeez,
used to
that
go
thing's
swimming.
huge.
It's about, it's almost 6 foot tall.
Look at that
Uh-huh.
one.
I think we've seen that.
He heard
Yeah.
fish and he
Yeah,
got
yeah.
We've seen that already, I think.
You holding it up like that.
Okay.
No, that's him
Yeah.
squatted down.
That's
He
him-
squatted
this
down.
one.
He's the guy with the hat.
No,
Anyway.
I did recognize him there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have recognized him until you guys had previously shown me a picture of him.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
You were a handsome dude.
yeah.
But you were 18 and she was 16? You were
Oh, no,
robbing
I
the
was-
cradle, weren't you?
I was 17 and he was 20.
Ooh.
I was 17, yeah.
I didn't know.
Have you
John-
seen Nanny Pam's younger picture? She was gorgeous.
Yes,
Still
she-
is.
oh, I have
but-
seen pictures of Pam. I can understand why John was.
Sadie says, she says, she says, they were getting up all these pictures and the kids came in, we were all talking, you know, visiting with Sadie. And because she'd say, what are y'all doing? You know, and I said, oh, you woke up? Okay, you know, so we'd go back and stay around her. And the kid said, Nanny, you don't ever change. You still the same. I said, oh no, honey, I'm getting older. Y'all just ain't looked at the face in you. And I said, and if I
This is
wouldn't
our first
use
house.
that,
That's your first house?
House, yeah.
That's what it looks like now?
Yes.
Yeah.
well, that's what it is.
That's how it looked like.
That's
That's
how it looked when
like
we
too.
sold it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember the house.
and
Yeah, you know it
but
pretty
it's
good.
just, like I said, it was just, you know, funny how we, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it just went on. I mean, they catch the fish, you know, like when they went fishing, and then Aunt Marion, his aunt, would always have the fish on a Friday. And since I went to school with her daughter, and that went all throughout our business school that we went to. She went to be an executive secretary, and I took up accounting for business administration. And then, so we'd go, you know, and Darlene was another one, was in our crowd. She'd go, and we'd have the most fun.
Here's my
picnics.
wife at work.
At work. Wow, what was I doing?
When was that?
A while back.
What was she doing? What were you doing?
Oh, paying bills and whatever. Right there in that room that
Right there.
you
Oh,
She
yeah.
was sitting there with her
because I'm
hand.
in Popo's roll
with
top
her
desk
hand
now
like
because he
that.
took over the whole room. But yeah, a lot of times. But we went ahead and
Then she woke up.
yeah, as
She looks like she's gonna kill you in that picture.
You took my picture?
yeah, that's probably what I said. Anyway, but he went ahead and it ended up that when I was younger, it was just us 4 girls hanging out. I mean, it was just, you know, and I did meet a guy, but he was gay, but I just figured he's one of the girls. But anyway, we found out later that, you know, but we would just, you know, have a good time. And when Mardi Gras came, well, Aunt Gertie used to get invitations to all these different carnival balls. So, you know, girls like to dress up, and we're going to, you know, go, of course. Dwayne, he never came with us. But anyway, we went ahead and we go to these carnival balls. Well, you had to kind of dress up, make yourself a little older, because you weren't supposed to be, unless you were 18 to get in. And we started going when I was like 15. And so Aunt Gertie would say, here, I'll give y'all the tickets. Well, Papa had gotten a little Mustang, and so I do the driving because none of the other ones had a car, and I'd drive. And we crammed, one time it was 6 of us in that Mustang, in formals. And it was comical because Debbie's sister was the oldest,
Mm-hmm.
and so she was going to be our chaperone. We really would have gotten more trouble with her. But anyway, so we went ahead and, well, naturally, I had borrowed my mama's mink stove. Darlene had her mother's mink stove. Well, she said it was, what she said it was it, it wasn't bear skin, it was something else.
Badger?
Could have been, but so it was a different breed altogether, you know.
What?
Mm-hmm.
And Darlene's little fur coat she wore.
Oh.
You don't know.
I don't know.
You were still with the old group. Anyway, so went ahead and we all jammed in there. And what we would do, which Granny and Papa never knew, is after the Mardi Gras ball, man, everybody used to go and watch all the people with all their formal attire going down on Bourbon Street.
Mm.
Well, we couldn't go any place in, as far as to go get anything, and we didn't drink at that time, so we just rode down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'd have sailors, you'd have this or that, and one time they had this sailor, and he had a little too much to drink, and so he kept knocking on a glass, and I would just, we were just ignoring him. They'd say, what do you want? And so Debbie's sister Linda, she was in a long, tight skirt.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for her to get in my car, she had to pull that skirt up to where the slit was on either side was kind of up high. And so she says, well, I'm old enough to flirt with him. So, she says, put your window down. I said, ain't no way I'm putting this window down on Bourbon Street. Anyway, so she kept talking to him. She says, oh, and where are you from? And boy, he's getting all, till finally he decided he was going to get on the hood of my car. Well, that wasn't going to make it, And so he's staring in, because she was sitting between the two front seats, so she was right there by the console. And I said, Linda, you got to tell him you got to get off my car. So he decided, he knew what I told her, and she says, you got to get off the car, And he said, so he looked at me and he started staring. Well, at that time, I could stare pretty good.
Oh, you can't stand no more.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so I went ahead and I just stared and had no, reaction. There definitely was no smile. And I just kept staring and staring. And he says, well, you're a lot better than me. He says, I can't keep this up. I said, then get off my car. And so he did. He got off the car. But that to us, we'd go get coffee and donuts after the ball and go down Bourbon Street. So we had a good time. We were just a bunch of girls just giggling and laughing and just we thought that was something. But, and we enjoyed the carnival ball so much as, if Debbie ever hears this, she's going to have a fit. But she would go ahead. Debbie was the one who was after John. Well, she wasn't endowed plenty in the top.
Mm-hmm.
So her sister, Linda, says, oh, I'm going to fix you up. She had stuffed cotton balls all in a bra that she had, and she would put on Debbie. And so she had it all stuffed with these cotton balls. She says, I think I did a pretty good job, huh? I said, yeah, you did, And so, poor Debbie, when we did get out the car, and you had to walk to get to the thing, and boy, you stood in line. And honey, when them doors opened up, you got to run to go get your seat. So that time we had front row, we had seats on the floor itself where the ball was taking place. And that meant we had to give it to the usher, and he had to escort you where you had to go. So Debbie's walking. I said, you handle that guy? She goes, yeah. So she's walking, talking with him and everything. And the next thing you know, Linda hits me, gives me the elbow and goes, and I went, oh no. She had a beautiful red velvet dress, and
all the
little white
cotton
cotton balls were coming out.
Oh no.
So I grabbed some and I, with my feet and put my dress over it and we'd walk a little bit more and I'd do the shuffle. Linda was doing the same thing. And so we were collecting all the cotton balls.
Kicking up under the dress.
Yeah, no, getting them so we'd have them to stuff her back together. And so we did. After a while, Linda says, "Oh, wait a minute, I have to go to the restroom." I said, "Me too." And Debbie goes, "Well, I don't need to go." And I said, "Oh yeah, us girls have to stick together." So we went ahead and went. Well, when we told her what we were collecting, she goes, "Oh my God."
She didn't feel one getting smaller.
No, she just felt like, she says, "I'm deflating." So she got restuffed, and that was our highlight,
Mm-hmm.
And it was just funny. But to us, that was good, clean fun, and so we went ahead and we did that. And then next thing you know, as you get older, oh, okay, we don't need to go any more carnival balls. So
When did you and Uncle John get married?
we got married on September 4th, 1971. And your mama and your uncle and Alicia's helped, Alicia too. They gave us a 50th anniversary party.
Mm-hmm.
This September we'll make 52.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's already been 2 years since
yeah.
that. It's already been 2 years. Dang.
so it just we were really fortunate. And we've been
Shannon and Paul used to come by the house every year for
2 weeks. They came
out
to
of
Granny
Uh-huh.
Little Papa's, and we would take them to the camp on the
Take them
weekends.
to the camp. We go fishing and swimming and
Yeah.
doing all kind of stuff.
Were they bad kids?
No, they were very good. But matter of fact, only thing is when Suzette told her she had to wear a long skirt when she went swimming, and she could put shorts underneath.
Oh, we
it.
took that off.
Yeah, well, the skirt ended up having to come off because we were having to tie a rope because the current with that dress and the current going down the, either way in the bayou, and we, pull in.
You can't have that.
It was
Cut that
too.
off.
It was too much.
Put a
of
bathing suit on.
Yeah.
Okay, get out
no,
there.
she went swimming with her shorts on.
With shorts, okay.
Yeah, that's when Sean had one of the younger men. Well, he was a boy at that time.
Mm-hmm.
He was was about say Shannon's age, and he just thought she was so cute
Oh,
in
he
her
had a
little
crush on
shorts.
you?
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
For the longest, yeah.
And
Oh, the neighbor's boy.
Then knock hands
let's
boys.
see, it was Shannon and James, my nephew.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that stood in our wedding.
They stood in it, but they was the
One was the flower girl,
And the other one
was Shannon,
that
and the
one
other
was
one
the
was
ring
the
carrier.
ring bearer.
Mm.
and they did that, and
Where'd you get your wedding dress from?
From Hollywood wedding gowns.
Oh, in New Orleans?
It was a shop in the Lakeside Shopping Center, and at the time that's the only place you had to go to get a wedding gown. And then they had to order it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I admit I was a chunky monkey, and so I had to get the biggest. A chunky monkey. I had to get the. Well, they got me a 20, but then they had to take it in so
you
much,
wasn't that big.
No, but to them,
I picked you up and carried you through the door.
Yeah. When we got back.
After we got married.
Because we went to Aunt Gertie's. My reception was at Aunt Gertie's new house.
Uh-huh.
And so they just mostly moved furniture,
Mm-hmm.
They had her table there so that the cake could be on it. And that was in the dining room. And then they moved the furniture. After we left, they rolled up her rug and there was dancing night, I was told, because I didn't get the music. Because your papa at that time told us.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with your granny. We each got $1,000, and that's what we had to do our wedding on.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had her reception here, Suzette did.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gertie says, oh no, do your reception at my house, because it was brand new.
Uh-huh.
And so we did. And then it was, so for that $1,000, I forgot what it was that Suzette got. Was it that she might have got a sewing machine, I think, with the money left over from hers. And me, I got a bedroom set, you know. And,
Which we still have.
Yeah, in the attic. And it's just, we just was taught to be very conservative,
Uh-huh.
you know, to make that
Now look at
$1,000
us.
stretch. Yeah. And, but it's just, and it sure isn't what weddings are costing now. I mean, it's just, you know, ridiculous.
She didn't get her right cake.
Yeah, I didn't get the cake that I ordered.
Oh, no.
They actually weren't going to send any cake because they lost the order.
Oh.
And my daddy said, "Who? Wait a minute. I have my canceled check. And so therefore you owe my daughter a cake."
Yeah.
And so they did. I wanted a cake like Granny Lou got for her 50th anniversary, one with pedestals, you know, and the top layer was up above, you know. Well, that didn't happen, but that's okay. It was a wedding cake. And so we did that and went to Mississippi for our honeymoon.
Where?
Right there in Gulfport.
Oh.
It was in Biloxi.
And you had the marina you could go to and this and that. And we did a few things. Then the weather was starting to get bad. He says, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, maybe we ought to head on home because, you know, they would talk about a hurricane but then, it was going the opposite direction. Or, you know, all kinds of things. It switches ways."
I don't think we had any problems doing it.
Yeah, because when we went back, well, our house wasn't built yet because we bought it before we got married. And the house wasn't built, so we were staying here
bought the
at
house
Granny
before we
Lou
got
and
married.
Papa, yeah. And we stayed with them, and he says, "Well, pay me what you were going to pay in your house note." And I said, "Okay." So we paid Papa what our house note would have been. And the house got finished. We moved in on November 13th. The actual house being finished was around November 4th. But we had to go do all the paperwork, but we didn't move in until it was November 13th. And it was funny because, you know, everybody was bringing in boxes and putting it wherever, you know, they thought it'd go. And so you had to hunt for what you needed when you went. But he said, "Well, let's go over to down at the camp." Because they used to have a rodeo every year on Labor Day. And that's when we got married. And so we went down to the camp.
My hands are starting to cramp.
Yeah. And so when we did, naturally, everybody was there. You know, they were having a good time. And you catch crabs or fish, whatever you caught, you cooked and you had.
See, this finger wants to strip.
Yeah.
This finger wants to
So it's just, we actually had a real good life. We really did. I have to say that most married couples didn't have what we had when we got married. Of course, we were on it was called a 235 plan. And I was sponsored by the federal government. And since he was in the service, then we were eligible. And at the time, you were making $2.50 an hour, something like that. And he didn't want me to work. Well, instead of working, I went and took care of his grandmother and his, and then after his grandmother passed, then I took care of his mother. And so my thing was just taking care of everybody. And then Granny Lou and Pawpaw. So that was considered my job. All he said, I'd like you to be home for lunch and be home when I get home. So that was, lunch was at 12 and he got off at 6. So that's what.
So once I went to work, she went on.
Well, his grandmother was an insulin-dependent diabetic, and she couldn't see to do her own needles. So they said just fill them for 5 days, keep them in the refrigerator, and that way you won't have to fill them, each
Every
time.
time, yeah.
So that's what I would do, and so I'd go he left to go to work for 6, and I'd get up, and then I'd go for his grandmother to get her shot before she would start her day of cooking and eating or whatever. And then I'd come by Granny Lou and Papa's, and then I'd head home for 12 o'clock lunch. Then usually if Granny Lou wanted to go somewhere, as soon as he left for lunch, I'd leave too, come back over there, and her and I'd go shopping or whatever. And or I'd go with Daddy for them, because he used to do the grocery shopping thing for home. And because my mother had eyesight problems. And I presume this is it might tell you when you interviewed her that when Granny had her detached retina, we were at Claremont Harbor in Mississippi, and she was in a pear tree because she didn't want Suzette and I to get hurt. So she climbed in a pear tree, and we would kind of shake the tree, and we'd say, hold on, we'd try to shake the tree, and some of the pears would fall off, man, we'd catch them, or she'd pick them and then throw them down to us. Well, she told Sue one time, she said, when it happened, and I was 9 years old at that time, and Suzette was 14, and she says, go get your daddy. And Suzette says, well, why, Mama? She says, oh, go get your daddy. He's going to have to get me out of the tree. Well, the reason she said that was because she lost sight in one eye that fast. When the retina detached, that was it. So Daddy got her out of the tree, and that was it. Okay, we're packing up, we're leaving now. And he brought her to the hospital. She stayed there for a whole month because they really didn't know what to do to get that retina to get back. Well, after a month, the retina had shrunk, the retina shrunk, and so therefore when they put it together, and so did it, and it ended up, a little after that, it ruptured again because the pressure of your eyes, the fluid, was enough to just the stretched nerve endings just gave way. And so then after that, she went to Oshna, and they went ahead and they said, well, you're going to have to use the laser. Now, you won't have sight in the eye, but you will have, won't lose the eye.
Yeah.
In other words. So that's what we ended up doing. This one's doing it too.
This one here is not as bad. See, this one here has this finger going this way.
Well, put them one on top of the other, and that way I'll hold both of them down. Anyway, so we did.
But then I can't talk.
Well, hey, what am I supposed to do? I'm the queen at talking with my hands. Anyway, but so we just, just did, normal things, going to the camp every week, and then sometimes Granny Lou and Papa would come down, and we'd all go fishing. And they used to, your grandfather went ahead, my sister's husband, he named my daddy Pass-A-Rag, because my daddy always had this rag. Oh, it could have been a torn this, or just a piece of material, or it could have been actual rag in his back pocket. And so whenever he did anything, he'd take that rag and then, clean up the area. So we called him Pass-A-Rag. So we'd go fishing. With Granny Lou, would come there in her white pants and her white shirt and a long sleeve shirt and a short shirt underneath it, and her big hat, and my daddy had on his khakis. Neither one of them had any dirt whatsoever on them. And everybody kept saying, how do they go fishing and not get dirty? I said, because of that rag in his back pocket. I said he'd use that to put the bait on when he hooked the bait on, And he'd always hook Mama's line and throw it out and then give her the pole. And when she got a tug on it, she knew she had to start reeling it in. And but he would do the same thing. He'd grab the fish. He had to get that rag out of his pocket and grab that fish. He wasn't going to get his hands all messed up. And so that's how they came back from their fishing trips all so clean. And but we just had a good time down at the camp. We really did have some good times. Until we got a little older and they started going up, decided they could get more on their leases. And so they kept going up, up, up. And then they started making demands on repairs. They wanted it to look like the little place before, a little town called Myrtle Grove. And they sold lots for like $50,000, and you built your home on it. Yeah, or more. And so it was sort of like a, I guess you'd call it a gated community type thing. And they each had canal fronts because they had dug out the main canal and just, made side canals with it. And so they, that ended with that. And so one thing led to another. It got to the point we were getting a little too old. So we made a decision that they would put the camp up for sale. We had raised it and everything.
Actually, they had a guy stop by.
Yeah, and
come over to us, and he said, would we want to sell the camp? I said, we were just thinking about it. Let me go. We went and talked it over and everything. We might as well sell it. It was hurricane season.
Yeah.
And that,
and the previous one had taken all
If it takes it completely, then we
have nothing.
We ought to potentially amount of money. So we decided to sell it. And the guy that bought it was Tracy Landry, part owner of Don Seafood.
Don Seafood Restaurants. We didn't know who he was. We probably would have charged him more. However, our landlord knew who he was, and they went up significantly. The first year, they went up. They almost doubled it.
So in a way, it was good that we sold it, got rid of it. I didn't want to, but it was changing. It was changing. You was getting different people coming in there and everything.
It wasn't like a family atmosphere anymore. It was like party time. Of course, the only problem is they would drag these people on these inner tubes or whatever. And going swimming wasn't bad. Of course, the alligator farm was still all intact. But when the hurricane came, that alligator farm, the fences came down, and so the alligators went out looking for food. And they were used to people bringing their, when you would clean your fish and that fish heads, whatever, or if some people had boiled crabs left over and they didn't want to deal with it bringing them home, they'd go throw them over there and they would eat. Okay. And so he went ahead and they did that, and so it ended up that it just had gotten to that point. It was different. And they would be drunk and just loud music. So, and it was always peaceful, So we had a, good time. And that's how Uncle John got his boat, his big boat, because he said that's going to be my camper on the water. And it is. It's supposed to be able to sleep 4 adults and 2 kids, but we figure maybe the 4 adults and 1 child, because the dinette isn't real big in there. But it had it had a heater in the winter, and it had the air conditioning in the summer. Only thing is, for your air conditioning, you have to have the boat in water. But it ended up, we got it. It was basically almost what we got for the camp. We ended up having to pay for the boat, but he got it, and he decided, okay, we're gonna go launch it, and we did. We launched it at a launch ramp in Mandeville, but at the point where it goes at Lake Pontchartrain goes into Tafumta.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we launched it, I thought my car's going because I'd gotten in an expedition, and when my parents passed, and when we went ahead, and he was trying to get the boat off the trailer, and the waves were coming in, and I thought, I can't watch. The car's going to go. Because after a while, the boat, he'd give it a little gas to go in reverse, and the boat was dragging my car and that towards more and more towards the water.
Oh, God.
Until finally I said, I cannot look at this anymore. And I said, John, it's not working. Maybe you better push to get my car out of Lake Pontchartrain. But they finally managed to get it off.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stevie and, James was driving my car. And I said, I don't know how to launch no boat anyway. So, and Stevie, I think, he said, let me get on the tongue of the trailer, and that way put more weight on it. And he did. He was able to get the boat off of it. So when it came to picking it up that evening, because we all went cruising down to the Tafumta, that was going to be our first maiden voyage with it. So we did, and when we came back, we found out that the launch ramp had so much water in it that it was, getting closer to the running board of my vehicle. So we got into the vehicle, and I said, well, Stevie, you know how to pull a trailer? I don't know how to pull a trailer. And we just went down there, and then went ahead, and I forgot who it was that brought us down there to get the car and the trailer, and then we drove it back. And when we got to the traffic light in Mandeville, which is only one traffic light, but when you got, now I forgot what it's called. Yeah, it's in, yeah. Yeah, and so anyway, we went ahead and we got to the corner where you had to make a sharp turn, and there was a telephone post there.
Oh, no.
And I said, Stevie, I don't know, I think if you go make that turn, that it's going to catch that trailer. So what I told him, I said, oh, wait, let's go into the little Time Saver. So we cut across Time Saver's lot, and then got it back out so that we could go to the other side of the Tafumta, and they had a launch ramp there that was a little more steep, but it was going to be easier for the boat to get on and then pull it out. So we did, and after that we stopped off for gas, and Uncle John put the emergency brakes on, and then when we started to leave, when we started to go.
Where you was?
When you almost launched a car into the thing. Well, it was going back there, and the waves were not that far from the bumpers.
The rear wheels was in the water a little bit.
Yeah. Up to the bumper in the back. Anyway, so
Wasn't up to the bumper.
it was when you pulled off the trailer with the boat. It did. But anyway, so the idea was that we were able to get it out of the water a lot easier. And but when we got to the gas station, you put the emergency brake on and forgot to take it off.
This big boat?
Yeah, that's the big boat.
What, you didn't tell him about the Thunderbird?
Well, no, I didn't tell him about the
That's
Thunderbird.
where.
Okay, that was his first boat.
That's the one that Shannon and Paul went.
Yeah, and they'd come and we'd go out to the Gulf, and he took them exploring. One time they went to the fort where Dream of Feet used to be sometimes, and they went ahead and they went exploring it. Well, I just stayed where I was. I wasn't going exploring it. But then they came back and he said, man, you would have loved that bench they had made out of, granite or something. And I said, oh, if I know that, maybe we could throw some ropes and, pull it in. He said it would sink the boat probably.
I don't know.
And they had a cannon in there.
Did Shannon and Paul go to the fort?
Yeah, they went to the fort. Y'all
remember
went.
being at that fort, but I don't remember how we got there.
Yeah, well, it was from the boat. And 'cause that's the only way you could get to that one.
Yeah.
And then
Y'all missed out on a lot of fun.
yes. Anyway, it was.
I remember going to the camp when we were little and pulling
I
oysters
got
up
the
out of the canal with
pictures of when it
sticks.
was
Yeah,
when we was raised in it and everything, you know.
yeah. That's when y'all.
Where did y'all go during Katrina? Did y'all go up to Granny's?
Yes, went to well, we weren't.
I
We were
stayed
going to
here.
stay here
Mm-hmm.
because he had to stay because he worked for the parish,
Mm-hmm.
and so our cousin George and his fiance and his mama were going to come here, and then they made it mandatory that you had to leave, and so I said, well, I can't. My husband's here. I can't leave. My husband's here. And they said, oh no. So John said, well, I'm coming. I'm going to come home. And they said, and get y'all. We'll go up, get you to your sisters. And that's when they were giving them, the employees were told, if you leave now,
Mm-hmm.
you won't have a job when you come back.
Oh my gosh.
And so they called me right before he drove up and
I
said,
told him, well, I said, that's all I want to do is go to the house, and, you know, do whatever I got to do to board up a window or pick up a few things, and then I'll come back. And no, once you leave, if you leave now, you're fired.
yeah.
I guess I'm fired.
Yeah, because when you give him an ultimatum, he's going to be stubborn enough to say, that ain't working.
So before I got to the house, the director called and says,
Told me that if
I don't know, he talked to her.
if y'all can stay, is what he told us, that there's a place in Kentwood where y'all
Not
can
for
go.
Katrina.
Yeah, well, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah,
And
for Katrina, you went to your sister's house, stayed here.
the director though
Oh,
told me that.
for us to go,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
And so, in other words, they had made a place to rent this school or whatever to house the people and the employees and the families. Except for when he got there, we started off to go to your mom's, to your granny's, and it took us 14 hours, and the trip normally takes 6. And that's with having a few stops, you know, whatever. This was just bumper to bumper to bumper. And so George followed me, and he said, I don't know my way up there. I said, that's all right, we'll find it. And Eunice seemed to be happy because she said, oh, I never saw Suzette's house. I didn't think I'd ever get to go there, you know. Well, so they had, the 3 of them were in his pickup. And Stephen and I and 3 cats were in the car to go to Suzette's. And it took us a while. And then when I realized they had us on contraflow, they were going to make us go all the way to Meridian, Mississippi. Well, when you get to 49, it's a 4-lane road, but it takes you can get on that 49 and get to Jackson. Eventually goes to 2. But, so we went ahead and I telephoned George and said, look, I said, but we got to get over and get off at this stop coming up. And that meant we went 2 lanes over, then went across the median, because you have to go there to meet up with the other 2 rows of traffic. So he says, okay, he says, I'll pull over and then you get in front of me. And that's how we did to get over 4 lanes of traffic. And so we got off at that exit. Well, because it looked like mostly all men, I will say, but they had to have had women that did too. You'd see, we would stop and go so much, you could stop, get out your car, and the person driving could still creep along. And the men were all you saw was the back of men. And then every now and then you saw a lady come out from the bushes, because everybody was going to the bathroom. And so when we got there, well, I got gas, George got gas, and he says, Lord, there's a Wendy's, maybe we can see if we get something there. I said, okay. I said, well, probably need the restroom, so we'll go there. There was no lines for the restroom because people had already done.
Yeah.
But the line for the food was terrible. well, when I left, I just grabbed at the time we had turkey ham sliced up, and I grabbed a loaf of bread, and I said, well, it won't be fancy, but I can make us some ham sandwiches. So we did. And when we were leaving, well, it started to drizzle. And George grabbed his mama's arm and said, come on, you got to walk faster. And Aunt Eunice was this little short lady. She wasn't even 5 foot tall. And her son used to take her shopping. Well, her shoes were like a size 4 children's shoe. So he'd get her these little socks with the lace around the edge. And here she was, just walking as fast as her little legs could. But when he grabbed that arm, she yelled. And I said, wait a minute, George, she's hurting. I said, Eunice, what happened? Well, she had fallen at her house because he kept telling her, no, you sit here and don't move. I'm getting everything together. But she wanted a certain purse, and he brought her one, and it wasn't what she wanted, so she went to go get her the purse and fell. Turned out she had broken her arm, and so she went the rest of the way in the truck, and by that time she was waking up more because she had slept first. Then she was starting to wake up and wanting to get out because she was hurting. Mm-hmm. Good thing they have parental locks on these trucks, on his truck, because he kept hitting the lock, and then his girlfriend couldn't stand to be in a locked truck. So she'd reach over and she'd unlock her side. But Aunt Eunice, being in the back, was locked. And she'd say, George, she's going for the handle again. Make sure it's locked. He'd hit the lock again. But it was just one of those nights that drug on forever. Mm-hmm. So we made it to Granny's, and I guess it was about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning when we got there. And we'd been on the road for the 14 hours. And so we went ahead, and next morning we got up and we took Aunt Eunice and found out, yeah, she did have a broken arm, but it was in place, so they just, put her in the restraining thing and had kind of more or less kept the arm to her body. Mm-hmm. But, and we ended up staying there for a month before they let you in to see your damage, but then you had to get out. Mm-hmm. And so went ahead, and George, in the meantime, he had a bunch of puppies because he raised beagles, and his male was like the stud, and he ended up, he would have the female come visit, mm-hmm. and they'd have the puppies. And so he says, I got them puppies to feed. Well, we finally got to talk to John. And I said, John, you got to go by George's and feed those little puppies. And he says, okay. Well, he could go because he had his badge from the parish, and so he could get anywhere in the parish. So he did. And during that time, when everybody was gone, the people from New Orleans came over this way on foot across the bridge. And because they were told, they got food at the food bank at the food court in Oakwood Shopping Center. So they came over here, but the problem is the ones who first came got what they wanted to eat, got what TVs they wanted to take, got, different clothing, and then when the next group came, they went to get what they wanted to get, and it wasn't as much as they thought, but so they decided they'd burn the place down. So Oakwood caught on fire, and the people who did it were caught, and dealt with. But it was just, that's what was going on here, chaos.
Making me fall.
I'm sorry. Anyway, so it was just, we stayed up there by Suzette's for a month, and then we came back. He was able to leave and come get us, and then we drove back. So,
But didn't Uncle John spend the night in his truck?
Oh yeah, it ended up they didn't have any room in the school that they had so-called
They had a little bit of room in there,
shelter.
but it was mostly young kids and
Yeah, it was mostly the
and
families.
women and everything like that, and
So they
a few,
decided they'd
they had a
run
few
it
men
out.
in there, but We didn't feel like going in there. They didn't really have the room
No,
to
you
put
had
up a
to,
cot on the floor.
yeah, you'd have to sit on a desk,
So,
you know.
So you were here for Katrina.
No, he
What was
stayed
it?
here. He went to Mississippi, to Kentwood, and they parked in the parking lot
well,
and stayed in the trucks.
that evening when Katrina was supposed to, it was starting to get bad. When the wind started getting up to a certain amount, that's when they said, no, yep, everybody leave and go.
Where'd you go?
We went to Kentwood.
Right.
But they'd,
Was it not bad in Kentwood? I thought
Yeah,
Mississippi got
it
yeah,
hit pretty
it
bad
was
too.
bad.
it was
Kentwood,
pretty
but
bad,
it wasn't
but
as
not
bad
as bad
Yeah.
as here. And what you didn't know is whether or not because there were a few barges that lost their
We
mooring.
didn't know if it was going to flood or.
And if they come through the levee, forget it. That Mississippi's roaring through and making a new route. And
I thought that's what happened to the 9th Ward. That
Oh.
something broke.
well,
the
they
levee.
did, and that it flooded that side, the East Bank instead of the West Bank. So we call West Bank the best bank. I mean, because the water can come in, but the water can also go back into the Gulf after. Where on the East Bank, you're bound between Lake Pontchartrain and then the river. So the water can't go into the river to go out. So it just hits there and backs up. So but the French quarters in that are really and truly built higher. They're higher there than they are.
The French Quarter,
You know,
and
in the
that
other part
all
of the-
got flooded.
Yeah,
didn't it?
yeah, that all bottom got flooded. All of the outer areas. The only ones that didn't get flooded were the actual, like French quarters,
Yeah.
the cathedral, the cabildo, the presbytery, and those apartments, the Patapla apartments. They didn't, flood that area. And but most of the people stayed and was up on the roof because of the fact that they didn't want the people down below to know that they were there, and that they had, if they did have electricity or whatever, they didn't want anybody to know it. So you basically, did what you needed to do to survive. But it's just was one of those things that ended up happening, and
What damage did y'all's house have? Did it have?
this house lost one shingle.
I thought the gate came.
Oh yes,
The gate came off.
gate came off, but one shingle, and that was it. And the man across the street, cat a corner from us, he's a retired police officer, so he stayed, and he actually videoed the one shingle going.
I never did get it from him.
And the next thing you know, it fell off. Finally worked its way, it broke off. But when the guy came, the adjuster came and said, "Oh no, there's hail damage and everything on the carport." And he said, "But I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get one with the 3-inch insulation in it. They don't make that anymore." So they gave us enough money where we could put the roof on the house and a roof on the garage, and and carport still stays. Now it has a few leaks, which we were trying to. Stevie had tarred the seams, but what happened is that the metal has a pattern to it. So even if you put in tar by the seam, the pattern lets the water run through and get where it's going to go. So we're thinking that we'll have to wait.
It just
then,
from
from
raising
lifting
it up a
it up
little,
and down.
little bit like that, kind of
kind of
because those
open
panels
seams.
they lock in, but they have a strip of sealant, and it just from being old, it just
So it's still standing. We went through all the other ones, and I was amazed because I thought for sure that patio cover was going to be gone. And but it didn't. I guess because it is high up and it's just a straight angle. So when the wind comes from either, like for Katrina, it came from down the street up the street. So it was able to just go with the flow until it met my neighbors yard, and she's got trees growing everywhere.
You never know what the wind's going to do.
You don't know what it'll,
You know,
but
most of the damage that's done in this area is from the little tornadoes. That's born.
yeah. And we never used to get, say, a sizable tornado until this, you know, what was it, 3 years ago? We had that tornado, and it was just, it actually devastated 2 houses. Not the one on the corner, but the next 2. It just
Took the whole
their
back off.
roofs off, the back of the
Jeez.
house off, you know. We were really lucky because all we have is one scratch from where that branch came down and it shoved itself in the ground. You would have thought I had a tree growing. But it was just, that's all we, you know, had. And we're very fortunate with that. Didn't have nothing wrong with the boat or anything like that. It was there. And so we were lucky. We really were. And
Well, I'm gonna have to stop it soon so we don't run out of storage on this phone.
yeah.
But
And so,
you got any closing advice to the future?
well, to my nieces, I would say y'all have very good husbands and that love you. Yeah. And just don't give things up. If something gets rocky or rough, just try to work it out and see. But on the other hand, if it's really bad, don't stay in the situation.
Live life.
Live your
Because
life.
life is short.
Life is very
Enjoy
short.
it while you
And
can.
enjoy it while y'all can. And
You got anything to say? Because I'm,
gonna
you know,
go.
these will stick around. Our kids
Yeah.
might watch them.
Yeah. Well, to y'all children.
By that time, that's going to be obsolete and won't be able
Yeah.
to play.
Well, by the time when y'all have children, all I can say is listen to your mom and dad. They're not going to send you wrong.
And don't do no bad things. Stay in school.
Stay in school.
Get a
with
good
an
education. Because you're probably not going to use it anyway.
Yeah, no. That you may need to rely on it to get a job or whatever as you get older.
Job.
But
Everything can be given to us.
yeah,
We
nah.
won't need no job.
Slavery ain't coming back.
For the white people, it is.
Well, for the white people, maybe. But no, just listen to your mom and dad, and basically just try to live a good life. And,
Or in these days, listen to your mama, or
and your
daddy.
daddy, whatever way it goes, you know. And but the thing is, listen to your elders. There you go.
Listen to your
Covers
parents.
them all. And just have a good,
Treat
happy,
everybody
and
with
healthy life.
respect.
Yeah. Treat everybody like you want to be treated. And then if they don't treat you that way, then just walk away and say, that's it. You know? So,
All right. Well, wave goodbye and I'll
bye.
turn it off.
Bye.
Love you.
See you in another life.
I'll be happy when you come back.